probably a nice guy. I've met him a couple times, but he was in Congress for 6 years. I mean, there's probably 20 senators right now just like him that are already there doing nothing, just going along, status quo, voting for the unbalanced budgets. I mean, he's against them now, but he voted for them all when he was in office before. So we have an opportunity to really do something different, to send me to the Senate, and that's a wake-up call, and that's, and there'll be, believe me, a lot of other candidates from outside the mainstream will feel empowered and enter the race in 2012. And if we're going to make sure that Barack Obama loses in a landslide in 2012, and we got to do that, having me in the Senate is a big step in that direction. So what I'm going to do, my campaign is barely getting started. I got into the race late. I was the last candidate to declare. And I really, as I said, this was not my ambition. I was perfectly happy running my business. In fact, the worse the economy gets, the more successful I am. At my business. So I got a pretty good future personally based on what they're doing. But what I need to do is organize my campaign. So I'm still building the campaign team. We're still looking for our headquarters. I haven't sent out any mailers yet. I haven't done any fundraisers. I haven't done yet. I raised more money than any other candidate last quarter, and I wasn't even in the race. Now I passed Sam Caligari in the last poll, so I'm still, I was at 5%, but I haven't done anything yet. I was still at 2%. But I'm organizing, and once I begin, I'm still going to raise money, so I have money to spend on promotions, on advertisement, on mailers. I've got a lot of volunteers. That's one thing that other people don't have. I've got 2 people that came here to see me speak. 2 kids out of high school kids that have read my books, that have seen me on YouTube. They're not prospects for my brokerage firm. They don't have any money to invest, yet they know about me anyway. There are kids like that. I get emails from kids all around the country and all around the world in high school thanking me, urging me to run. And so I have a lot of supporters, and they're very energetic, and they're committed, and they believe in what I'm saying, and they want to see me win. And so I'm going to try to energize those supporters from around the country to make phone calls on my behalf into the state of Connecticut. Hopefully I can make several 100,000 phone calls a day to Connecticut voters and get people of Connecticut to understand who I am. And of course they can point me, because all I have to do is point them to the internet. Say, hey, go to YouTube, type in Peter. You type in Peter and I come up first. I come up first in Google. So they can go in there and just look. Read the stuff. Read my book. Look at these videos. People can learn about what I've been saying and just compare it to other candidates. So I think there is a lot of information out there. My website, even though it just came up, I look at my website, it's, none of the other websites are even close as far as traffic. It's not even, they're not even remotely close. Nobody even goes to them, but there's a lot of traffic on my site. There's a lot of discussions of me in chat rooms and on blogs. And so I want to energize that and bring it into this race, because none of the other candidates have that. There's no passion behind their candidates. It doesn't make a difference to anybody if Linda McMahon or Rob Simmons or no one really cares whether they win or not except them. But there are a lot of people around the country that care if I win. And I think a lot of people in the state, if they know why I'm running and they understand my message, they'll care too. They'll see an opportunity to actually make a difference, to actually go to the voting booth and vote for somebody instead of against somebody. Just picking the lesser of 2 evils. I got tired of that a long time ago. It's an exercise in futility. But if you actually have a candidate who's compassionate and who's saying something that's different and generally wants to help and you believe them, then you'll not only will you vote for that guy, but you'll work for that guy. You'll campaign for that guy. And if I have 10,000 volunteers making phone calls and 1,000 people going around the state, who else is going to have that? So I think I could win the nomination. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm meeting in these town meetings like this. I spoke at 2 last week. I was in Weston, where I live. I went to Reading. I'm going to another one tomorrow night. My schedule is building. Later this month, I'm going to send out my first mailer, so all the voters, Republicans, are going to get something in the mail from me. I haven't mailed out anything yet. My other candidates have been mailing for months. And I'm still there. I'm still in the polls. But the thing is, I think what's encouraging about it is hardly anybody has heard of me. But of the people that have heard of me, I'm getting a lot of them to vote for me. I think I was like 5% in the polls, but maybe only 10% of the people have heard of me. So if half the people who've heard of me are voted for me, I think I got a pretty good field. you know, as I educate everybody else, and I also think the fact that so many people switched from Simmons to McMahon so quickly, I don't think they're that committed. I don't think they were ever really committed to Simmons. I don't think they're committed to McMahon. They don't know where to go. But I think if they hear a real sincere message, it's something that they understand, right? Because more and more people are going to think that more of the same is not going to work, right? That's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If we do exactly what Bush did, if Obama and Bernanke do exactly what Greenspan and Bush did, why should it produce a different result? Why should this stimulus be any more effective than the last one? And people are going to ask that, and as more and more people lose their jobs and see prices going up, they're going to demand something different. And I'm the only person that can deliver that.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I don't think it's because our congressmen are ignorant and they need to be educated.
That was Freudian.
I think they need to be exposed because I think Wall Street owns them.
Oh, of course.
And what you need to do is not educate them, but expose them.
And I think I can expose it because, look, I make my living in investment world, but I don't get any subsidies. I don't get any bailouts, right? I don't work at Goldman Sachs. I have my own little firm, right? And I didn't do anything wrong, so I didn't get any of the bailout money. But I can talk about Wall Street as an insider and point out the flaws. You know, Chris Dodd pretends he's, for the average man. He's not for the, he's screwing the average man. He gets his money from Wall Street.
Do you think Glass-Steagall is the one regulation that we should bring back?
Well, here's the problem, all right, with Glass-Steagall. We shouldn't have repealed it. But if we didn't have some other regulation, we wouldn't have needed it. Here's the problem. The government insures bank accounts through the FDIC. That is the problem. Once you insure the bank accounts, you need Glass-Steagall. Because Glass-Steagall said banks can't take big risks with insured deposits. The problem is the government shouldn't be insuring the deposits. If you didn't have deposit insurance, then there would be no need for Glass-Steagall. And the reason that banks take so much risk is because of the deposit insurance. It's called moral hazard. What happens is, how many people in this room have bank accounts? All right. How many people have ever looked in the bank's balance sheet to make sure they weren't doing anything too risky with your deposits? Does anybody care what the bank does with your money? Why not? Well, because the government guarantees it. Right? What if there was no government guarantee? What if there was a sign that said, depositor beware? You could lose your money if we do something stupid. Right? You would research it. There would be private companies that would be rating banks and telling you which one has got five, and banks would be competing on how sound their loan portfolio is. This bank is safe. We don't take crazy risks. We don't buy subprime mortgages. But they don't do that because the government guaranteed everything. So they create a moral hazard. So the depositors give banks money regardless of how much risk they take. And so the banks take a lot of risk because there's no penalty for risk taking. That is the problem. So we need to understand how government subsidies, and some of them are well-intentioned. Like I got into this debate over student loans, and this one of these the guys who interviewed me on Face the State now just wrote a column where now he sees my perspective. But we were talking about college loans, and the government says we need to support student aid, student loans. We need more student loans, and I'm saying no, we got to stop all that. We got to stop student loans. We need to abolish government-guaranteed student loans because that's why college is so expensive. But the politicians don't realize that they're the source of the problems. My father went to UConn, University of Connecticut. His parents had no money. How did he go? He didn't borrow a quarter, and his parents had no money. Well, it was cheap. He had a summer job, he waited tables, he graduated debt-free in 4 years. Not a quarter from the government, no loans, no money from his parents. Why can't kids do that today? Because of government aid. Because so much money is made available to students so cheaply, they take all that cheap money and they bid up college tuitions. And the universities know this. The universities know no matter how high they raise their prices, the students are going to pay it because they're getting the money from the government. So